Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
I'm Alex Baldwin, only in the Hatmobile because I wanted Chick-fil-A.
Indeed, Chick-fil-A is delicious. So,
Chick-fil-A is delicious.
one thing before we get started, the reason that you have not heard anything about likely you guys will be seeing this video on a Thursday. The reason you haven't seen the Inglewood Second Chance campaign come up yet is earlier today, I had the migraine from hell. I really did not feel like streaming at all to do to do the launch and stuff like that. So that sucks. So I wanted to launch it today, but sadly I only got over the head like a half hour before we started this, because about an hour, because I texted Hatman and I'm like, hey, you want to do the Overflow tonight? So you're also probably noticing that I too am a Hatman. I have actually my signature hat on today because my hair is falling out. So I will probably be wearing this a lot more. At least until I buy some Rogaine or something.
If it makes you feel any better, I've discovered a bald spot on the top of my own head.
Oh, so you're in the same boat.
Well, I'm actually wondering now if it's just because I wear the hat too much.
It's possible.
So if that's the case, I might end up wearing it a little bit less to preserve what hairs I do have on my head.
Yeah.
It'd be really weird to not be as much of the Hat Man anymore. I built my brand on this damn hat. And
Yeah.
now it betrays me.
I was actually reminiscing with some people about this particular hat I'm wearing, because it's the one that, if you go all the way back to the Blistered Thumbs days, this hat was in my avatar because I wore it
Really?
all the time.
Damn.
You know.
Well, God, that's what, 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's this hat's 10 years old. And it's still in surprisingly good shape. So
See, I had to retire mine when it hit the 10-year mark, and this one's not the one that served during the Gamergate days where it became popular.
yeah.
But it is.
Well, the funny story about
Still
this
a hat.
one is that it kind of sat retired for a while. I just kept it around for no particular, like, if it was raining really bad outside, and I didn't have like a coat handy that had a hood, I would throw this on instead. So yeah, but it's very rare that I would ever do it. But yeah. So that's why the hat, for those wondering. So let's go ahead and get to it. We have a couple weeks of questions, but we've been getting so many questions taken care of during the show that overflows, like, we can handle an overflood now. Not that I'm saying I want to do this every 2 weeks. I'd rather do it every week, but I'm just now starting to get back on a coherent sleep schedule. So, So let's go ahead and get to it, and we might get talking about some other stuff too. So, let me get us over to so where people can actually see the questions. Okay. So let's be Hatman. As always, partner, I'll let you pick. What should we start with first? Politics or entertainment?
Well, considering I just got back from a house that had Fox News going, let's just cut politics. Get it out of the way.
So Leonardo Juan wants to know, and he starts with actually a theological question. So my wheelhouse: if God gave free will to all beings, even to his angels, does the devil still have free will, or did he lose it when he was banished from heaven? So that's an interesting theological question.
Did the angels have free will?
Yes, I don't think that it's ever specified within the Bible that angels do. In fact, the thing about angels is, in the Bible itself, we don't know a lot about them. Mm-hmm. We know that they're God's messengers. We know that they're also soldiers. We know that they have come to Earth in very specific times to deliver very specific messages to very specific people. And when they do show up, it is extremely rare.
And they look terrifying.
Yeah, and they look terrifying, as described in Revelation, especially the seraphim. A lot of other information that is talked about when it comes to angels is what is considered by biblical scholars to be non-canonical to the Bible. And yes, biblical canon is a thing. And a lot of myths and things like that about angels tends to come from the Torah and what are the other?
The Gnostic Gospels, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Gnostic Gospels, and there's also another. What are the extra books that the Catholics put in the Bible? I always forget the name of it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
What is it called? There's a specific. The Deuterocanon. That's it. So.
Okay. Deuterocanon it is.
Well, there's another word for it. Because the thing is, if you ask that on the internet, the Catholics get very offended, apparently. The Apocrypha, that's it.
There we go.
Yeah, the Apocrypha has a lot of stuff about angels in it, if I recall correctly. I actually have a Catholic Bible somewhere in my house. I just don't know where. But yeah, so yeah, the Apocrypha and the Torah tend to have a lot of that shit in it, and it's not considered canonical, you know. So, and the Torah is where Sephiroth is, the Sephiroth is a part of it, and Lilith, and that's where the legend of the succubus originates, things like that. So yeah, it's so we don't, in the Bible itself, we don't know a whole lot, and then what's the other one? The Nephilim, we don't know a whole lot about either. They're just briefly mentioned in Genesis, and then they're just gone. They're never mentioned again. So, anyway, so that's where it gets hairy, is I don't know if angels actually have free will. If the devil does, he definitely exercises it to be an evil cunt. So, I don't really know that he does or does not. So, either way, we're never really going to know. And I think that the thing about the angels is that they're not important. That's the big thing. And some people who are who pretend to be theology guys are gonna probably get on my ass about this. They're not important. They aren't, honestly, to the grand narrative of the Bible. They are probably some of the least important figures to you, and I mean you watching, even you, Steve. Jesus loves you too, even if I don't. So regardless, it's not even worth thinking about. That's the sad thing. But does the devil have free will? Probably, but it's inconsequential. He's just evil. So, whether he chooses to be or does not choose to be is kind of irrelevant. It just simply matters what he is.
So. I guess the only argument to imply that the angels do have free will is that they rebelled against God, the 1/3 that rebelled with Satan. Because I was always taught that the difference between man and angel was that man had free will and angels did not. They existed wholly as servants of the Lord.
Yeah.
But that comes into conflict with the whole idea of Satan's rebellion, and of course Satan being a former angel. But I don't know. I mean, frankly, to me, it seems like, again, a minor thing to worry about, and major on the majors, minor on the minors, and it's not really worth it. It's an interesting thought exercise, I suppose, but really nothing more.
There we go. All right. Miguel Barrera wants to know, are you worried that governments around the world are taking advantage of the pandemic to go authoritarian, especially with Australia's drone thing?
Drone.
I don't know about what's going on in Australia. I'd have to ask Liam about that. But when it comes right down to it, I really think that is definitely a case. And this is the thing, and we've talked about this before. You give a government power, they will use it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the government is absolutely going to exploit any kind of tragedy or crisis. Look at 9/11, for God's sake.
Yeah. So the answer is definitely yes to that. That's why I'm of the opinion, if you're going to make a move that has to do with public health, I can understand it. But if you're going to make a move that is infringing upon the rights of people for the supposed good, the government is not in a place to tell you what is good and not good. You are the one who determines that. But businesses can, of course, have their own personal mandates. So if a business says you need to wear a mask in here, you need to wear a mask in there because that you need to respect their property. So, but they can't tell you what to do with yours, and your body is your property. It's the ultimate property rights. Yeah. So, if they cannot acknowledge that, that's why I'm not a fan of lockdowns. I don't like the idea of forced curfews unless there are actually roaming killers around the landscape. So, and even then at that point, what you just need is increased police presence. So,
I mean, here there's a curfew on alcohol sales because they've closed bars for so long. Now there's an 11 p.m. curfew on all alcohol sales.
Yeah.
Trying to convince people to go home. What? Why? The hell's the point? I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I really don't see a whole lot of difference between this and government overreach during 9/11 because it's all under the guise of public safety.
Yeah.
Except now it's not. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Then, it's not that anymore. It's more, you're doing this because you don't know who might die from it.
Yeah. It's sort of like government monitoring and stuff like that was supposed to catch terrorists, and it caught 0 terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
It was just basically there to monitor speech, and Obama kept it to do exactly that. So, sometimes good intentions can be the beginning of, tyrannical rule, because one person's good intentions can be twisted by somebody else into something completely and totally evil. So.
Yeah, funnily enough, remember how people were freaking out in 2016 about all the data collection and the government surveillance programs, and then saying, "Oh my God, Trump is going to get access to all of them."
Yeah.
Huh. It was a bad idea after all, huh? Oh, people are so stupid.
All right. So from the week after that, Angry Green Boss wanted to know, is it possible God is punishing California for their politics? Did God tell you that? No? Then don't assume.
Exactly.
That's all I think really needs to be said about that. I fucking hate it when people do that. Do not speak for God.
Please don't be a John Hagee.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Yep. Brian Gilmartin wants to know, can we safely confirm that social justice and my truth fall under the large banner of moral relativism? Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Moral relativism is, cancer, and does not hold up in under any sort of scrutiny on top of that. So, all right. Entertainment time. The fun stuff.
Good God, that's it for politics?
Yeah. And thankfully, because I'm not in a political mood today. By the way, I'm not a big fan of Justin Wang because I just don't watch his stuff. So when I say I'm not a big fan of people, I'm looking at you, Ultimate Agent, because for fuck's sake, I don't hate people when I say that. Jesus, I swear to God, you have any other time I've said I don't care for Mahler, he starts DMing me over fucking Discord like, why, I don't know why you hate Mahler. I never said I hate him! Jesus! Stop it! I love our fans, but there's some of you guys I'm going to shake like you're not supposed to shake a baby if I ever meet you. Like, Jesus Christ. I love you, but holy shit, stop. Oh, God. It's like, that's something else I should explain. I am an older brother of 4 sisters, guys. That is just sort of how I talk to people. Is like, I love you, but you're infuriating. Like, just stop, please. For the love of God. Like, it's the big brother in me. You know, I don't mean to be a bully. So, but anyway, Angry Green Boss wants to know, what should I avoid in having a lot of villains? In my fantasy story, my main character and his race are at war with several other races. Well, shit. Why are you including all of them in one story?
Yeah, don't do that. You don't want to do overload.
Yeah, do one at a time. Like, you can have it as a background idea, but you throw all that information at somebody, they're gonna get lost.
Yeah.
You know, keep it simple for your first story. You know, there's a good guy, there's a bad guy, and, you know, there can be a backdrop.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't make it your main focus. That's part of the reason why in Inglewood #1, there's not a lot of discussion about what all the gangs are. Even with Terry Trevor's and, because there's 3 villains that appear in Inglewood #1. There's Terry Trevor's, there's Carlos, and then, fuck Carlos. And then to throw him in there, because I wanted him to appear, there was Frost, the leader of the Prophets. So, yeah. But keep in mind, Terry Trevor's is only there really for like 5 pages.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is about setting up what's going on. Like, you don't know a whole lot about Terry Trevor's. He's just there to set the backdrop.
He's effectively a mini-boss.
Pretty much. At that point. And then everything else is to set up exactly why the lead character is saying there is a war. Mm-hmm. You know, you only need to mention it. You don't need to, like, if you're planning 10 steps ahead, that's fine. I did the same thing with Inglewood. I have all the villains for Inglewood already created. You know, just for ease of use for the future, because I have a 5-year plan, you know. But the thing is that, you know, it's fine to have that fact, but if you're going to put all those villains in one book, man, it is confusing. The only reason that the Sinister Six works is because each of those characters had long been established before they started teaming up to try to kill Peter Parker. So, that's my advice.
And then, ironically enough, Spider-Man 3 was very disjointed because of all the villains they tried to throw in there.
Yep. Exactly. Alright, Miguel Barrera says, Mitches exist, right? Well, last time I saw that, yeah. Why do a lot of SJWs freak out over short anime girls and assume it's a child when midgets and short stacks exist? Well, and this is specifically because he's talking about whatever her tits are, Uzaki-Chan, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I know women who are built like that. You know, Piper, who's been on the channel before. Piper is 5'2" and has huge boobs. You know. And it's kind of a gag with her, you know, because I'll flat out say that she's packing howitzers and she'll laugh her ass off about it. You know, one girl that I'm kind of seeing, you know, she's like that. She's really short. She's only 4'11".
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I tower over her, and she has huge knockers. So, like, it's and not to mention, this is a Japanese character. The average height for a Japanese woman is 5'1". there's a lot of short people in Japan, which it's a genetics thing. There's just not a lot of tall people there.
Yeah. So, ironically, the most unrealistic thing about her is the fact that she's Japanese and has huge tits.
Yeah, pretty much.
But even then, I mean, they exist. They're just rare.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
The the fact is that the thing about the social justice warriors is this. They're not thinking about the culture that the character was created in. They don't care. They only care about American culture because it's or Western because this is where they live. So they don't even think about that. So you might as well just throw that out the window. The second thing is their obsession with the male gaze. They don't believe that, or they believe that women, anytime that they are portrayed in fiction as having large chests, that it is something about the male gaze, because men find it appealing, it is bad. Of course, that is ridiculous, but I'm not saying that any of this makes sense. I'm just saying I know what they're thinking. And the final thing to keep in mind is that they're not so much offended about the character as your reaction to the character. If you think that the character is drawn sexy, they find it offensive. Because sexy is bad. They're sex negative. They don't think that sex is by itself a good thing unless they're the ones getting plowed,
Or unless they're the ones selling OnlyFans subscriptions or whatever.
Yeah, there's that too. So. But no, at the end of the day, these are people who don't take sensible things into thought. When I saw the character, I'm like, hey, it's a Japanese waifu. Another one.
It's waifu bait.
Yeah, of the hundreds of thousands of Japanese characters that have been made with giant tits, it's not uncommon. You like just about any show I have ever watched that is Japanese anime, there's always at least one chick that's fairly well endowed, with the exception of Gundam Wing. So, yeah. But then again, most of the characters in Gundam Wing are either athletic soldiers or they're teenagers. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, as it stands, I think that these people are just they are more interested in being offended about where your eyes are going than actually the little bits of the character that actually make sense in context. Mm-hmm. So they don't believe in context. They think context is irrelevant. I've actually had social justice warriors tell me that before. In which case I answer with context defines meaning. So you're saying that meaning is irrelevant. And then that, of course, creates the argument of, where their whole philosophy kind of starts falling apart.
Yeah. Well, these are the same people who both simultaneously believe and disbelieve in death of the author.
Yeah.
I think J.K. Rowling is kind of thrown for a fucking loop now.
Ain't that the truth? Just from Discord, somebody sent us a thing. We called it, apparently, if you're banned from Facebook, you can lose access to Oculus games. We called
it. Told you it was a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. So, don't buy Oculus, Just don't buy anything attached to Facebook. Let's see here. Eclectic wants to know, despite the very clear allegories, how is it that C.S. Lewis was able to make Narnia a good story? Because the allegories are actually pretty loose when you think about it.
Yeah, if they came... I don't even know if they came secondary. It's probably tertiary, to be honest.
Exactly. It's not like... Now, my favorite C.S. Lewis story is the one that is, like, the tightest allegory. But then again, that's because Lewis is very, very obviously trying to do an allegorical story. And that's The Great Divorce, which is about heaven. And it's a beautiful book. But it's pretty obvious from the get-go that it's about heaven. So the allegory is central to the story. In Narnia, the elements of it that are there, yeah, they're it's because they are, believe it or not, they are not the primary thing. The only reason that so many people know about them is because that book is as old as it is. And the allegories in it have been pulled apart for generations.
Yep.
So
Yep.
So that's how. Entertainment for the final week. Zach Loggins wants to know, did we see the trailer for Dune? Yeah, it looks interesting. I don't know anything about Dune though, but it looks like an interesting looking movie.
From what I'm told, it was a very safe trailer because it hit on obvious scenes from the book. So book fans are looking up, I guess. But I wouldn't know because I have not read the book, and I have not seen the original movie that they made, in the 80s or something. So I have no dog or pony in this race.
Me neither. So just as seeing the trailer, I'm like, oh yeah, this looks interesting. So, and I'm always on the hunt for relatively interesting sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason that I didn't really get into the original Dune film was just because it really felt like the story and what they were wanting to tell, the technology of the day was so far behind what they wanted to do with it that they just couldn't quite get it. But I remember I couldn't tell you what it was about, but I remember when I saw it as a teenager, I thought it was an interesting story. So I'd have to rewatch it. So let's see here. Leonardo Juan wants to know, have we seen the anime Kengan Ashura? If you like Baki, you'll like the anime. I have seen Kengan Ashura. I didn't review it on the show, but it's okay. I don't really like CG anime. I prefer traditional animation. But yeah, it was all right. It was all right.
I have not heard of it, so.
Yeah, it's just a tournament anime. That's basically all there is to say about it. It's not what I would call, like, I don't know. It's not that interesting. It was fun to watch when I had nothing else to watch. So, Melee Brawler wants to know, what are our hopes for the second season of The Mandalorian? Jedi, Boba Fett, and more Gina Carano.
Ahsoka, I kind of wonder if she'll be like the big surprise, quote unquote, like, revealed at the end of the first episode and then plays a major role throughout the rest of it. I want to know what Boba Fett's involvement is, because apparently Boba Fett is supposed to be in it, or if it's just someone wearing his armor, which would also be interesting. And I want to see Baby Yoda do some kick-ass Force shit.
There you go.
And Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Gina Carano is pretty based, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
She just got shat all over on Twitter for making fun of people who put pronouns in their bios.
Oh, yeah.
So, Gina Carano is pretty fucking based. I would buy her several beers.
Yeah, she's awesome. And finally, Nick White wants to know, old, but I want to know, what's y'all's thoughts on Halo Infinite's delay? Well, yeah, I would like them to delay it as long as they need to make it not look like shit.
I would like them to delay it as long as they need to in order to make up for the mistakes that were made during Halo 5's development.
There's that
because
too,
Halo
yeah. 5
was straight fucking garbage. The campaign was easily the worst out of all of them. It was unforgivable. Absolutely. There was no redeeming qualities to it. But I feel like a Halo delay has effectively delayed the Xbox Series S and Series X. Even though it is launching this year, I feel like people are not going to jump on it because it's not launching with Halo Infinite. And they're going to wait until Halo Infinite drops. And I'm kind of thinking that's what I'm going to do too, even.
Well, yeah, I mean, why commit if you don't really have the main draw?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I'm probably going to get the PS5 on launch or close to it, just to get it out of the way, just so I freaking have it. And when apparently the new God of War drops, I'll be able to play that shit.
Yeah.
But and Spider-Man Miles Morales, I'm actually really looking forward to that. But Xbox, I I don't really see the draw for launch day. I don't really see a draw for it at all until Halo Infinite drops. And I think Microsoft understands that too. And to be honest, it shows a lot of balls to delay the flagship launch title and potentially lose out on those Q4 sales because of it. Like, that is a ballsy fucking move, not gonna lie.
Yeah, but it's appropriate because I mean, if you were to launch Halo and it sucks for the start of your console, oh man,
yeah.
that's a bad fucking day.
Oh yeah, not only that, that's a bad omen for the future of the console.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and they can't afford a fuck up like that. They started out behind with the Xbox One because of their, we're going to make it to where you have to register each disc game, and you'll have them downloaded, but your discs will basically be useless after you insert them on there. You have to always keep your console online. That bullshit. They got rid of all that before the console launched, but that was so detrimental to them. All that news, it set them back years. I mean, more than bundling the freaking Kinect with the console did, and that was another stupid idea. But I don't think that they were going to make a mistake like that again. And to be honest, yeah, like, I would much rather lose out on some early sales than launch a game from your most popular franchise too early and torpedo your entire console launch. It's ballsy, but it's the right way to go.
Yep. But that's the thing is whenever you're putting something out there, the launch is always the most nerve-wracking part. Especially because it's gonna kind of set the standard for how everything is supposed to go, and you don't want that. You don't want to set out with your bad foot forward. Yeah. And that's kind of the infamous thing about console launches is there's not been a lot of consoles that have launched with with even two good launch titles sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm still of the opinion that if the original Xbox, if Halo had not been a hit, it would have been DOA.
Yeah.
And Halo Infinite, when it came out, the only people that I saw talking super positively about it were diehard Halo fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then the thing about Halo's fan base, it is so fucking devoted to Halo that you could have Master Chief bikini contest game and they'd buy it. So Because, like, they're introducing villains that nobody fucking knows because not that many people actually played Halo Wars 2. It's like, oh, the Brutes are back. Oh, the Brutes are back. Nobody liked the Brutes. You know, there's that. And when you look at them, they look like ass. Like, the visuals just were not there. Like, for Next Generation, it didn't look Next Generation. You know? Like, and the enemies had no facial expression or anything like that. The Brutes just didn't look menacing. They just looked like shaved apes. You know, it largely just was mediocre. You know, as a first impression. So, whenever I see something like that, I tend to be more optimistic when they say, we're going to take more time with this. Sort of like the Sonic movie. You know, they take a negative reaction and it's like, well, if we can afford to go back to the drawing board, let's go back to the drawing board and try and improve on the things that people looked at and said, about.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if you're in video games, you don't want to be the next Marvel Infinite. Which is a game that pretty much didn't take off for two reasons. One were the visuals. Two were the fact that there were no X-Men in it. Second one, they couldn't do anything about at the time. But the first one is because Marvel kept rushing them.
Yep.
But then again, Marvel has become notoriously, like, heinous to work with. Unless it's like the films. So. But then again, that's because they've got Kevin Feige at the head. So. Oh, goodness. Well, we're out of questions.
Wow. So much for an overflow.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, we've been answering so many of them during the podcast itself that we don't really, like, have a whole lot to do. So,
yeah.
Been interesting. Interesting times, interesting week. Ugh. I think I might need a nap. The migraines that, like, you feel tired after they finally recover are, like, ugh, always fuck me up. I blame Steve.
Fucking Steve.
Dude's an
We even asked him.
I know. Now, good news for those of you out there who are watching this. It is likely Thursday. Check Indiegogo. See if the new Inglewood campaign is up. Because even if you have already bought your original book, we still got cool stuff for you. That we plan on having this all fulfilled by October or November at the latest. We're only going to run this like maybe 60 days, if that. We might just run it 30. Yeah. Like, if we hit the stretch goals on it, which at 5,000, I'm kind of keeping mum on what it is.
Even I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I still got to make sure I've got everything set for it. But if we hit $5,000, I will probably just close it at 30 days. Because the main reason that we are doing this campaign is to make finances a little bit easier for Brian as he moves to a new place. So, because we love Brian and his wife. Brian did such a good job on Inglewood and the new cover and everything else. Like, it's honestly it's honestly awesome. Like, I love this. I love the team on Inglewood. I really do. I want to do comics with these guys for years. So I want to do what I can for them as often as I can. So this will be a big help. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to show off the tiers for you guys. So when you see this, you'll be like, oh, I want to buy stuff. So here we'll have the comic, which will have if you missed it the first time, we have a brand new cover done for it as well. You can also get the new T-shirt, which is Solomon's Temple shirt. The Angelica pinup. We have 50 of these left. So if you haven't picked one up yet, this is going to be your opportunity to get one.
We are not printing these again.
Yeah, they're not getting printed again.
The only time.
Exactly.
Only time you'll be able to get them.
The original cover poster, which is a bit bigger. The comic and t-shirt, comic and poster, and just the merch for those of you who would want the comic and poster. It was actually Darth Bobcat, if I recall correctly, who suggested this, because he's like, you know what? I'd like the poster. I'd like the shirt, but I've already got the comic. So that's for you guys. And then, of course, we're bringing that back, the Windy City special, where you can get all three for just $65. So it's a little bit of a discounted rate. So, yeah. Fun times all around. All right, folks. We are going to go ahead and take off. I'm going to get a nap in before work tonight. And then when I wake up, I will eat burritos, because that sounds delicious.
Burritos. Right.
So, Hatman, any final words?
I've got nothing except thank God that fall is coming and it's not ungodly hot anymore.
Agreed. All right, folks. We're going to take off. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and I'm about to finish all this Chick-fil-A.
Delicious. We'll see you guys next time. Days full.
Days full.